AEP's Customer Solutions Center. This call may be recorded for quality assurance. In a few words, tell me why you are calling. I am sorry, could you repeat that again? For outages or hazards, please press 1. To report a hazardous condition, such as a pole or wire down, press 1. To report a power outage, your hazard report is important. Please hold. We are routing your call to the first available representative. We care about your safety and the safety of our employees. Please help us follow the recommended social distancing guidelines by remaining at least 6 feet away from our personnel while they are working. Good morning, my name is Stacy. Thanks for holding. May I have your name, please?
Well, Stacy, I just had a question. I have called multiple times and reported a hazard at my private property from the electrical power lines out here, and
Yes,
I have noticed that after making several complaints or requests to get the situation fixed, I've noticed that on my other phone when I call in to talk to someone about the hazard. Now my phone, the number, the call rather, gets routed to West Virginia to Appalachian Power, which is a subsidiary or an affiliate of AEP. Now I'm wondering why it is that when I'm calling to report a hazard at my private property, that instead of addressing the issue and fixing it accordingly and appropriately, like a responsible company should, why would AEP Ohio route my call to a completely different state instead of taking the call and paying attention to the hazard?
well, all calls are directed to the first available agent. At this time of the morning, sir, you're going to more than likely get someone in West Virginia.
Well, hold on a second. Now, I mean, that would make sense if when I call 1-800-672-2231, which is AEP's number here in Ohio, and from every other phone that I call that number from, it goes to AEP. It never goes to Appalachian Power. Only the phone that I've used to report this hazard multiple times, only that phone, when I call that number, goes to West Virginia, to Appalachian Power. And then when I call the same number from another phone, it goes to AEP. And then I go back to call it from the old phone, and it goes to Appalachian Power. So AEP has flagged my number and is routing my calls through their systems to their affiliate in West Virginia rather than taking the calls and paying attention and addressing the hazard that they caused out here at my private property. Now I'm wondering why the electric company AEP would ignore their hazard, the harm that they're causing, and not only not address it, but abuse people by not even allowing them to talk to an agent to let them know that the problem is still persisting, and instead of paying attention, completely discriminating against a man or woman in their private property and forcing their calls to a completely different state. I mean, how responsible is that? I mean, I guess it kind of goes without saying, but just for conversation's sake, let me ask you, how responsible do you think that is for a company to not only ignore their harm that they're causing, but when it's being reported, further abuse the people that are being harmed by not even taking the calls and paying attention?
Well, I can assure you that no one is ignoring anything.
Well, you can hold on a
All
second. You
agents,
can
regardless of what state.
now you can assure me all you want, but that just makes you a false witness because I have proper evidence to show the contrary. So I know you just have to say that because that's probably what your bosses tell you to say, or you're just trying to protect the company you work for. I mean, I get it, but let's be honest with ourselves here. Um, the fact of the matter is that my private property is being harmed by AEP Electric. It's known by AEP Electric, and instead of fixing the issue that they've caused, the harm that they're causing, AEP Electric people, personnel, would rather ignore the problem, and not only ignore the problem, but allow the person, the man or woman that's being affected by their harm, to continue to suffer. I mean, how irresponsible is that for anybody to turn a blind eye and allow people to suffer just for what? To make a few bucks?
Well, again, no one is ignoring anything with hazards. Any agent in any state can report a hazard. If you
Okay.
are directed to the first available agent that there is, if you want to give me your account number or your address, we can report a hazard.
Well, yeah, we can do that because I want to I
And
want to
I,
I want to find out what you can tell me about about my private property and what AP Electric is saying, because I can't get a clear answer from anybody, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to provide that to me. But I'm still I'm beside myself that AP Electric is ignoring the situation, and you'll realize that I'm right when you pull up my private property and see that the situation is being ignored. In fact, it's being more than ignored. It's being improperly uh, improperly explained or categorized in a way that prevents me from getting any relief, conveniently from the company causing the harm. But so the uh, the private property is 469, white like the color, oak like the tree. It's two separate words, and that's Avenue in Zanesville, Ohio, 43701. I will tell you while you're pulling that information up, just real quick. Since July of 2018, I've been dealing with all kinds of health problems since AEP Electric made the changes to the power lines out here back in July of 2018. I've had that confirmed. I've also had it confirmed that there's extremely high levels of low frequency noise coming off of the power lines and power line equipment out here. That was also confirmed by AEP Ohio technicians back in March of 2020 this year. Now, why is it that AEP Ohio is ignoring the hazard and the damage and harm that they're causing to me and my private property? Can you explain that to me? And what does the system tell you?
let me look at your account, sir. I do apologize. So I do see that supervisors are the ones handling your account. I will document. I can have someone give you a call back if you would like. That's really all I can do at this time. There's not even an active account at this address.
Well, right. Well, see, and that's what's even more concerning is I've had to disconnect service and cut ties with AEP Ohio because you guys would rather cause harm than pay attention to the harm that you're causing and fix it. And even after disconnecting the service and not being a customer any longer, I'm still suffering. I'm still, unfortunately, being forced to suffer due to AEP's criminal negligence and the harm that they're causing here at my private property. I've got that proven now. It's not a theory or a myth. There's actual evidence to prove that. And so, why is it that AEP Ohio would go through all of this trouble to try to cover this up and ignore the problem and allow it to persist and allow a man like myself to continue to suffer at my private property? I can never get any peace and quiet or a moment of silence at my property because of your guys' negligence. And nobody can explain to me why this hasn't been properly resolved in a timely fashion. I mean, here we are 2.5 years later, multiple complaints with the PUCO, formal and informal. I've got the evidence now from AP technicians that in fact it's your guys' equipment. It's the noise is coming from your guys' equipment. Has been the entire time, and still, not only do you guys refuse to fix the problem, but you route my call when I call to report the hazard that's still there. You guys route my call to a completely different state, to a completely different company. I mean, that's abusive, isn't it?
No, sir, it's not abusive.
How is it not
I'll
abusive by
really
causing
appreciate
harm to
whoever
someone's
did.
health and private property and ignoring it, allowing it to persist, and then not even taking the call, having the common courtesy to listen to the man when the man is telling you that you guys are causing harm? And it's not a myth or a theory, there is evidence to prove it.
Well, I'm sending your information over to the supervisor. They will reach out to you.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, you guys got until December 16th, just by the way, before I get off the phone here, for you and your supervisors to take note. Nick Akins, the CEO, has until the 16th of December, just a few more days, to respond to my affidavits and to my notice of claim, outlining the damage and the law violations, the federal law violations, and the deprivation of rights by color of law that AEP Ohio has used and the PUCO has used to allow this harm to persist. So you guys can play this game all you want, but unfortunately for yourselves, you guys are playing checkers and I'm playing chess, and I have you guys at checkmate. And here in a couple of days, you guys will owe me for what's outlined in my notice of claim. And it's only going to take a little bit more procedure for me to get that through the court system and obtain a declaratory judgment showing that, in fact, Nick Akins and AEP Ohio is in default for my notice of claim and the damages that I've outlined, and will, in fact, then be liable for the damages that I've outlined and owe me for the damages that I've outlined in that notice of claim. So,
Well, I completely understand, and it is duly noted, and I did submit that information for you. If there's nothing I can help you with on your active account, sir, you have a good day.
well, actually, there's